The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good evening to everybody. I hope everybody had a decent day today. I hope the market's been quite kind to them. However, like every webinar that we do, we must go through the disclaimer. I hope everybody had a chance to go through. This is not personal advice. This is just general investment advice in securities, derivatives, and foreign exchange, which is part of a derivative in this case. So as I pointed out in the past, and I'll point out again, I am an authorised rep of Mortgage in General. You can see their licence number there on the screen, and as you can see my general investment advisor's number also. So if you do need any personal advice, please consult your personal advisor. Okay, let's start as we do every webinar that we run roughly every 2 weeks. We'll start off with the Dow, and I'll just switch over to that right now. Just one moment. Okay, we have the Dow. Start off on a monthly, the longest time frame that we normally use. As we can see, still in this monthly chart, I mean, really doesn't really change much, does it? We can see the Dow still in this huge rising wedge. It is quite a large rising wedge, and like all things, usually come to an end. If this transpires, looking at this rising wedge, you can still fit a number of bars in there, so this can drag on for a number of months. But it's not a time to make a decision, as we will go to the weekly chart and be guided by it. Now let's just go to weekly. Just switching over. Now, looking at the weekly chart, as we can see, for how many weeks now? Let's just have a look again. Starting at roughly here to there. We've got 14 weeks. It really is just sheer consolidation. So if anyone's to consider this to take a trade to the upside, it really clearly must break the top and close certainly above there. Or if anything, if it breaks on the downside, then obviously we'll consider downside trade. Now, if we look at the purple line as we see in the past, it's a lot of consolidation sideways. We'll look at this blue line at the bottom. Again, this actual pattern we can see is considered to be an ascending triangle. However, it can still break either way. So I guess looking at the Dow, we're still talking indecision. Just to go and look at the daily now. Again, as we can see, it really is consolidating in this quite a tight area here. It is indecision. So again, there is nothing here to consider a trade at this point in time. So let's leave it alone and move on to the next one. Someone asked me to look at the Dow Transport. And let's have a look at that on a monthly first. And we've never really looked at this in the past. Let's just take it from here first. Again, looking at that, still comes into the rising wedge. We had an ascending triangle at this point here. And as we can see, it has broken this particular little area, and if we accelerate that also this way. It's almost like a rising wedge within a rising wedge. Now that has broken, and let's see if the weekly gives us a bit more detail. Now looking at the weekly, and yes, what we can see is just here is certainly, it looks like a flag. It's not a very strong flag, it doesn't show much downside, but nonetheless it is a flag. And it's showing it has still got a little bit more room to move to the downside. In fact, 8,117 to 8,209. There's nothing much we can really say other than that on that. Let's go to the daily and see if there is any more data on the daily. Here we are. Let's just clone this to see if there's anything there. It really is just a small channel. Channel, as we can see, there's a bit of room to move a bit lower. So looking at the flag, it's probably suggesting to these lower levels here, around the 8,200 as the target was on the weekly. Take it from there. Again, looking at it on the daily basis, we see a huge consolidation area, which it has broken below, by the way. So taking this consolidation as a price break, we can target out of this consolidation that really suggests even lower prices to come down to around the low 8,000 to just under 8,000. And that basically does the transport index. Let's have a look at the S&P 500. Again, let's look at the monthly. Really nothing much from the last fortnight, is it? It doesn't tell us any more information than that. Go to the weekly. And as we can see again, huge consolidation here for the past probably 14 weeks also. No different to the Dow. Yep, 14 weeks. So we can see it really is in a very tight place now. Something's got to give. If we extend this bottom line, and we can see the top of the purple, we're really at a decision time. So this is a weekly, so you'd think by next week there'll be at least a decision of some form, either break it above it or break below it here. We'll just go to the daily now to see if there's any more information. And looking quite messy. Let's clean it up a little bit. This one. It's almost like a small daily rising wedge, but really doesn't give us that much other than a consolidation phase in this area here, and really indecision like the Dow. We unfortunately can't do much more than that on that. Let's look at the gold index now, the gold XAU. On the monthly, again, if we look at that mare's tail, which is the curvature here, and the curvature on this one here, as we can see, it is still within that mare's tail, on the top end of the tail, I must say, but at the same time, it is inside this channel. it also is below this huge broadening formation. So this can still go either way. So these two targets still stand on the monthly. So that's all we can extract out of that. We go to the weekly now. And what we can see, we originally had a bullish flag. It went to a previous high, and this is what we normally say, if it will fail, it'll fail at this previous high, and sure enough, it actually did do that. So it's a failed bullish flag on the weekly. We've got two red candles. What that basically only gives us at this point is probably just that, just a little channel. Let's see if we can clone that. And that's basically it. Again, it's something's happening here. There's a lot of indecision happening, and it's what we call marking time. So it's waiting for something. What that is, really don't know. We trade what we see, not what we think. So again, following further, we put this line at the bottom. Technically speaking, this line can be long where it is. It can also be long. Let me just redo this. You can just touch that. It can also be long just there, because there's a touch at the bottom, touch there, which actually does make more sense now, doesn't it, at that point. On the top, it really is a straight line, so we can just go continually straight like so. And technically speaking, we can remove this one now. We'll just delete it, and we can delete that, and we can move those also. And that's what all it really is relevant now. So this dotted line on the top, solid line at the bottom. This might be making a bearish flag, we don't know yet. But that in its own right, what this tells us, this is an ascending triangle. If it generally, as the name suggests, ascending, it really would expect it to go up, not down. But it has also known to obviously break on the downside. So we trade what we see. If this breaks on the downside, we can get a down target. If it breaks on the upside, we can get an up target. So let's just do two targets just to give us an idea if it's worth considering trading. So if it breaks on the upside, we'll click here, click to there, just go a bit to the right and roughly above the candle, click, and that will be the upside. However, if it breaks on the downside, click here, down to where it touched, and roughly where it is now, so if it breaks through that, and there's your down target. Again, that's all we can do. We can't do any more. We trade what we see, not what we think. So if it breaks, these are the trades we can consider taking. That's gold. Now, let's go to our local share market. ANZ, sorry, we'll go to the indexes first, the XJO. Go to monthly. And what do we have? Again, I would say this top line now is somewhat invalid because it did break below it. That was originally that rising wedge that it was given us. So that really is invalid at this point in time. This dotted line is certainly valid, which is a clone of the bottom trend line. And basically, it respected it. It stopped there, came off, and again, back up. We assumed a couple of weeks ago we made this potential flag. As we can see, it broke below it, but it's still sitting there. So it's still a potential flag. That's a bullish flag. So we don't know yet. So again, we've got to respect that, trade what we see, not what we think. The previous support was at the top here at the 56.74 level. That was its resistance rather, and now it's actually also support for the current candle. So if that support occurs there, this bullish flag's got potential. So again, trade what we see, not what we think. Let's see what happens, but potentially this could rally to the upside if that would be the case. If it breaks to the downside, this is your next point of support, and failing that, the dotted line at the bottom is your main trend line support there. However, this is still looking pretty good here because it actually respected this point here and it came back above it. If it closes above that by tomorrow, close Friday, that means it's fixed at that point, and it does have some traction to do something hopefully early next week. So watch it carefully now. Daily, we hit the main target here at the bottom, and then we saw a potential bearish flag. Again, it continued, then it rallied back up. Means this is a failed bearish flag. Obviously a stop, if you were in there, a stop would have taken you out and reducing your profit, but still you should have taken some profit out of that. Now, where it's sitting at this point in time, let's just have a look. We need to extend some lines and delete some. Extend that line. And we can remove that. Oops, wrong one. We can remove that now. And we can remove the bottom potential targets. If this closes based on the weekly, what we saw, if that closes above that point, this might be a trigger. It might be actually developing a bullish flag here. So everything is starting to reverse from that perspective. This candle itself, when you look at the Japanese candlesticks, it actually is a reversal candle. So that alone, when you saw something like that, you should consider a fail point on the previous bearish flag when you see that closing, and especially the following day grey candle opening. So I would certainly have closed my position at that level there. Now looking at that, we're potentially looking at a bullish flag. So if this breaks to the upside tomorrow, that will confirm the weekly one also and means more upside to come. How far? I would only trade it. We see this trend line here, the bottom. Anything that happens, I would only consider to that level. I wouldn't consider anything higher. So everything we're talking about is extremely short term. Okay, that was the XJO. I've been asked to do the XFJ. Let's have a look. We can see the main target was hit. Let's clone this actually, see if there's any more. And shorten the other one, basically. There. So you can see it is within the channel. Again, we're not quite sure yet, but potentially we might have a flag there, but not the cleanest, I have to say. It's not the best because the wick is a bit high on that one there. So we need to watch this for, in fact, it's a monthly, so that's got the next week to come too. So that might be premature because this is a monthly, so let's not put it there. You really can't give us any more than that. What we can probably modify is a little bit on this. Take it to the top of the wick, to the top of the body. Now, if that closes above there, means it'll have support. So let's go to the weekly. And of course, if we look at the weekly, we can see why it stopped there, can't we? We can see this huge trend line going all the way, and sure enough, right on the main trend line. What that basically does do, this line here is still valid now. Let's extend it. Oops, what am I doing? Delete it instead of extending. Let's just put it in again. Now, what that line does is, for this to have some power to the upside, really it's got to break above that, or it's going to do something totally different, like consolidation sideways or something something to that effect. Let's extend, oops, move that one, get rid of one, and extend that. So we really got to follow this also. So there's something, normally when something like that happens, it tends to be more for consolidation purposes than anything else. So go to a daily and see if there's any more there. Oops. Oh, what have I done again? One sec. Okay, let's just go there. Okay. And as we can see, just move the bottom line a bit higher to the body more than anything else. We can see it's pretty much using the bodies. There's the trend line, so it's stopped on the trend line. Again, what that suggests is consolidation, and we can see possibly consolidating this little triangle in here before it makes its decision. So really everything's suggesting is consolidation here. The next one is the health index again. I think that was last fortnight. Now I have to apologise. On the last fortnight we did the webinar. Everything went according to plan during the webinar. However, what I normally have to do to publish it on YouTube, I have to convert it over. And normally, it takes roughly around an hour and 10 minutes to convert the format so I can publish it. And I'm assuming it happened sometime in the middle of conversion. Microsoft decided to restart my computer. And in that process, it actually damaged the file, part of the file, which is the volume file, the audio part. And I apologise for that. I put it online, however, but I've tried to fix that file up, but unfortunately been very unsuccessful. There's video, but there's no audio on in the last fortnight's webinar, and doesn't appear that I can do anything about it. So I'm sorry about that. I don't know what else to do on it. I just make sure that automatic updates for Microsoft are turned off in future. Or someone asked, I think you missed the weekly. I just noticed the comment now. If I can ask, with this comment, what are we referring to? We're referring to 717 was the comment. So are we talking about the XHJ or the XJO? I'll do the weekly if I didn't do it. I apologise there, Graham. Okay, I'll do this one first, and then I'll come back to the XJO on the weekly. Now, if we have a look through this bull hook, we had a target around the 18,000 mark. And sure enough, hit the target and beyond. And it appeared it's trying to do a bullish flag. Now, again, we don't know yet, but this is a monthly chart, so it's very slow going. It's suggesting there is more upside to come. Let's have a look at the weekly. If anything, at the moment, an accelerated trend. The only little concern I've got here is, what is this? Is this going to be, this is a weekly. Is this a potential bearish flag on this one? If it is a bearish flag, then we target downside. Again, this would be a really good setup if this is a bearish flag. So if we click, and I'm only estimating, you can see it'll come back down to the main trend line. So that's where we traded to. So again, it's premature, but if this does turn down, if it closes roughly around here, even slightly higher, we have a potential bearish flag, and we need to watch it. Again, we trade what we see. Now, anything can happen next week. It looks like a bearish flag right now, but we might, look at it next week and say, this is not, it might be a double top. So who knows? So if this is a potential bearish flag, just, again, it's a potential setup for a trade to come. Okay. Let's go to the daily. And looking at the daily, we can see, we'll extend the line further. We can see this was support. Now it is resistance. And again, we trade what we see, not what we think, because potentially, is it a flag, or is it a, cloned the wrong one. Let's do it again. Or is it a bullish flag on the daily? Totally the opposite. So again, trade what we see. Now, for this to be a bullish flag, you really need to go past the previous high. So trade what we see, not what we think. And extend this line. And let's just clean up a few things to make it neater for the future. Okay. So that's what this really looks like. Now, when we look at this, of course, it also looks like a huge broadening formation here. Top of the broadening formation, bottom of the broadening formation. So either way, watch it carefully. There's a potential trade here anyway. Okay, that was the daily health index. I'll go back to the XJO for the weekly. I thought I did do it, but obviously not. Obviously not. What we see is it hit its previous target. Let's just clean it up now. And what we can see, the previous high here on the purple line, it's basically resistance there, support here, it's in between. So again, it's consolidation. We need to watch what it does here. So the weekly doesn't give us any more than that, unfortunately, but potentially it might have something like so. Let's see what the outcome of that one is. It could be just consolidation sideways, but if it does break to the downside, we can see it back to these levels here. Okay, now we'll start on the stocks. ANZ. Again, on the monthly, we can see on this rising wedge, it's actually right on it and support it there. So if it closes there, it'll make sense. This line here at previous, that we had, the purple one, it's now not required, it's invalid. And that's all we can actually say, nothing else than that. A lot of indecision here. So this is just as valid. You can see there's the support, the consolidation in this area here. So again, indecision. We need to wait and see what transpires. There's really nothing else. It's in this little area here, and we need to see which way it's going to break. Go into the daily. Again, not a great deal, unfortunately. From the top. And let's just clean that up a little bit. We can't draw any trend lines at the bottom because this high is lower than the previous high, and this is a lower low than the previous. So the only way we can say this is, we can draw a line from underneath is when this price goes higher than this price. Then we can say, yep, it's got a higher high, so we can actually draw a line at the bottom. So again, sorry to say, indecision again. There's nothing there we can do. If anything, if we extend this line a little bit as past history, we can say, you know what, that's why that stopped. Didn't go any higher, only because of this resistance point. We really can't add anything else to it. So it's consolidation. I guess so far what we've seen is what it's really telling us as the last fortnight also. It is consolidation. CBA. Let's clean that up. Again, on the monthly, at least at the moment, the month's not over. You can close a bit higher and it still closes on the trend line. So again, you can't really add much more to that. Just wait on the monthly, at least anyway. Let's take a look at the weekly. Right on the trend line, consolidating in that. One thing's for certain, if I was an options trader and I saw this break clearly, then you will have a down target only if it breaks, okay? Only if it breaks. And your target would be from there to there, break point, down to $72 if it breaks. If it holds, you'll get a rally. You could say one could be hedging their bet, but the bottom line is you trade what you see, not what you think. And if that's on support, basically, normally, at least you would think there would be some sort of bounce before you get any downside. But we can't really add anything else to it other than cleaning it up a little bit. Okay? We can't really say any more than that. Again, it's consolidating. If it breaks above that, you'll have your little rally back up again. But if it breaks below it, you'll have a target. There's nothing else on it. Daily, probably should confirm that. See, we had a bearish flag last time. We had a down target, and it just failed, just consolidated. Now, if we take that and just add it to there, and let's remove the other one. And what do we got here? Okay, how many bars are in there? Let's measure the bars. 16 bars. Well, first of all, it's too much data to consider that as a pennant, as a bearish pennant, and there's not enough data to consider that as an ascending triangle. So we really need to see more data, and then we can consider that as an ascending triangle. The only way to take it further is if you actually break it down to intraday, say 180 minutes, then you'll see twice as many bars, and you can treat it as an intraday ascending triangle, and then you can determine those targets again. But primarily what this is really saying is this is consolidation till it breaks one way or the other. So if you're going to trade it, it's an intraday trade, not at this point, not a daily or weekly trade. Again, it basically telling us it's consolidation phase. And generally it does happen, doesn't it? Again, on the monthly, this is NAB next. And on the monthly, we really can see it's still within the rising wedge, and it stayed inside it. It just touched the target, its previous target, 3 weeks ago, and it really is now in consolidation phase again. We really can't add anything to this at this point in time. Weekly, as we can see, the weekly target was hit. This is the trend line, and it is right on that trend line, consolidating again. There is no target we can actually generate out of this up or down at this point in time. What we can only do is clean up the chart a bit. That can be cleaned out. This purple one can be cleaned. Let's have a look. This line's been moved. If it does anything for us, and sure enough, it does. And we can see, just to clean that up a bit more, actually. What we can see on the trend line also, right on the intersection, it's where consolidation is actually occurring. So again, we really can't add much more than that to this. It hasn't had a lower low per se. Okay, that was the previous low of this run. If it had a lower low, we can then technically add that to it. And that still becomes a huge rising wedge. Now, I can leave it there as a potential, but it's more going to be used for resistance if this rallies back up there. You can't use it as a rising wedge at this point in time. The only thing that's valid at this point is this trend and as a resistance line, nothing else. We can remove the other purple line with the things at the top, and that's all it is. Now, potentially, yes, this can be a rising wedge as it evolves, nothing else. If it breaks down below this previous low, I would still consider it as a rising wedge, but you really need something like that. Going to the daily, we can see again all these flags and pennants, they all worked out as potential targets, and we can see consolidation. And if you looked at it on the weekly, we are consolidating at that point, so we can't say any more than that. We'll just leave it at that. Okay. Just making a note here. Okay. Excuse me. Let's have a look at WBC. Familiar story again. They all look pretty much the same. This is potential support areas down here. And technically, if you take the line from this point, it's still considered a rising wedge. So National Australia Bank, Westpac on a monthly, it has broken on the monthly, but it hasn't closed. We need to look at the weekly to give us more insight into it at the moment. Looking at the weekly, doesn't really give us very much, does it? In fact, this little broad information, like so, that broke above it, is actually more of a resistance point for it, nothing else. I just removed corporate actions. It really is more of a consolidation. Again, all this is telling us is huge consolidation, nothing else. Just delete that also from the top. This line can be a potential resistance for the future, but that's basically it. Nothing more. Daily. Clone. We have a potential another bearish flag, and the target would be, if it is a bearish flag, the pole would be here to here to its breakout point. Will bring, according to this at least, if it is a bearish flag. And remember what we say, normally bearish flags will fail. If they fail, they generally fail close to previous poles of the flag. All right, so that means it's previous lows or thereabouts, give or take a little bit. If it breaks and goes down, and if it fails, it'll fail here. If it continues, however, down, you'll be looking at the $30 target, around 30.80, 30.50. So that's all we can do with Westpac. Next one we have is NCM, Newcrest Mining. Again, if we take note of the gold, it was really indecision point. So this would be pretty much the same, I would have thought. We had previous targets. We hit the first target, and we had a higher target if it continues. And Gold itself didn't stop at the top of the mare's tail, if you remember when we looked at, and that's where it stopped. Now, if gold continued, I then would have believed this would have went to the $20 mark. In addition, this has got an inverse head and shoulder, shoulder, head, shoulder, and it has broken up. It's also a symmetrical triangle, and it has broken up, and that gives us higher targets. Now, how long before we get there? No idea. We got consolidation here, but we don't have a pattern to target off at this point. Let's have a look at the weekly. Again, if we just get the trend line, just to clarify it, what am I doing? Shoulder there. I'll just type it in instead, I think. Shoulder, shoulder, and head. Okay, oops, and that one. And shoulder, head, shoulder. Symmetrical triangle. Now, in addition, what we do have is consolidation. We did hit the first target. I really can't draw a trend upwards here. It's just consolidation area. So we need to see what it's going to do here further. But the only little thing that we have is if you wanted to draw that, but as we can see, that's below it, so it's useless. This trend line is the most valid at the bottom here, so this line is actually useless. We need to see what's going to happen here before we can see what pattern. It might make an ascending triangle or something to give us higher targets. But out of this pattern, these are the targets that we have to come. Go into a daily, as we can see from there. Now, we can take, because this is a higher high than this one, we can take this line and actually, again, taking it there doesn't give us much, does it? Because that's still a lower low there. No, it's not a lower low, sorry. That's all it can give us there. It really is nothing. That's below and that's consolidating. So it almost is obsolete. It's not even point putting it there. All you can really draw is, you know what? This is probably the area here we need to break above before we start looking at anything else. So a lot of indecision still. Marking time. It's the worst time in the market. You're trying to do something and you're still trying to work out what in the hell is it going to do. How long is it going to take? I don't care what it does, just do it quickly so we can move on. I was asked CCL. On the monthly, still a bullish flags potentially is there. Nothing more than that. Can't add anything to it. On a weekly, this is almost doing the opposite now. What's going on here? So like, which way is it going to break? Good question. If it breaks to the downside, we've got more downside. But, you know, technically speaking, when something breaks a head and shoulder, it usually comes and retests. This hasn't retested yet. This might be the retest. And if we extend that line, it doesn't mean it'll go all the way to the line, but technically it can retest the shoulder to this, to the neckline to this level here. So we can't really add even more than that. We have to wait. If it breaks, we've got a potential down to this level. If it fails and breaks and fails, probably stop around this level. So there's a trade either way. On a daily, what we got here? We had a potential flag here and really went to the point, typically failed at that point. So that's useless there now, so we can remove that. This line right across, it seems to be consolidating in this gap, right? This is the gap that was left. Remember we say comes and closes the gap, and sure enough, you see, came in a little bit above it and back underneath it. So that's closing its gap, but there's nothing this can add at this point. Probably there. I wonder if this would work. Just there. It really is consolidation. So obviously it's too many candles here to be any short-term pattern like a flag or pennant. Let's watch too much data here. 15 bars, way too much, but not enough to do something else unless you're trading it on an intraday basis. If we extend the main down here, we can probably no, we can't realign it. It might be fully realigned actually. Just have a look. It's probably where actually it's not bad. There's on the body cuts one and recovers on the other one, so it's acceptable because, and the only time this becomes acceptable, by the way, you can see we had a red candle, but look at the next one. Look at the green candle. It surpassed the previous candle. Okay, it's just sort of, I stuffed up here, made a mistake, and recovers the other way. Plus it hit the target, which is quite interesting. So yeah, it's valid there as a trend line, consolidation area. Again, that's all it tells us. It's just really a consolidation area. Everything seems to be consolidating here, doesn't it? Okay, SOM. Again, looking at the monthly, we are in a channel consolidation. Really can't tell us more than that. Weekly, the accelerated trend is useless at the moment. At this point, there is no benefit. All there's really given us now is really a broadening formation. In fact, you can go there. There. And there. Broadening formation inside this formation technique and goes as low as this without question, but we really can't. There's nothing there to tell us other than I think there's a bearish flag that we didn't pick up. Oh, probably occurred after when we did it last time. It occurred after that. Oh, wrong one. I meant to get the clone there. Okay, we did target that. It's to the trend line basically, and that's the weekly. What does the daily tell us? There, and clone. No, not clone. There. It's in a channel, so it seems to be bouncing up and down from the channel. So you would think, having a weekly target, you expect it to go to the lower channel. So the weekly was telling us out of that flag to a lower point, so you would expect it'll go down to the channel, which is to the bottom part, and the bottom part would be down to around the $23 odd mark. But it hasn't got much to go down according to that if you look at the weekly. So not much downside according to this, very little left. Again, consolidation, isn't it? That's all we're looking at, consolidation. SHV. Well, this one is defying everything else, isn't it? Yeah, let's have a look. Monthly. Well, everything that we thought, we hit the monthly target. You would think it's probably heading to the previous highs, doesn't it? Out here. There's nothing there that will give us a higher target of the month, that we need to go to a lower time frame, but it's suggesting higher prices to come. How about clone? Does it give us anything? Well, certainly to the top points here. Weekly, we hit its last target. I don't think that's any higher, is it? Is it? Might have been off that. So we'll just confirm it. Yeah, that's the one. That's where we are. So it hit its target. That's where it is right now. Has it got more to go? But there's nothing, certainly nothing more on the weekly. Okay, the trend line. The big trend line's that. If we clone the big one, okay, that's the channel basically. We only got one touch, however, nothing else. Actually, I wonder if I can bring it back. Not really the best. So that's what we still only have one touch. We've got a daily. On the daily, however, we had plenty of targets up if we were watching it. So I was ever trading that. There was another flag here. There was another flag there. Clone that. It's made another flag just recently. Clone that. And target. In fact, the last target was from here to there to its breakout point is where it is now. Well, this target goes from here to there. As long as it breaks above, and you look in the next move up, is the $11.55. This is certainly defying all logic, isn't it? So, nice one there, whoever owns that. Nice to see finally a trade up. What we have now is, someone's just given me a couple of them actually. I was going to go to do the currency, the Aussie, but we'll do this one now. GEM, G-E-M. Don't know what this is. First time I'm looking at it, I think. In fact, I think it is just getting the data. Here we are. Well, if that was a trend there, if that was the rising wedge, it's finished. It's got a bearish flag there, clone, potentially a bearish flag there. Clone those. Clone that. We can only do the ones that one hasn't broken. So we can't really do that yet. And if anything, if that's another bar there, the best one is then to get it from those two bars. So actually I won't do that one yet. It's not the best looking one yet. Okay, that's really the better one there. And we can target that from here to there to the break point. It's telling us it's got a bit more to go down on the monthly. Let's look at the weekly. How about cloning this one? What will it give us? A channel. We are at the top of a channel, and that's logic because the monthly says it's got to go lower, and that's part of the bounce up. So logically, if it's got to go lower, it makes more sense. So the weekly, we would think maybe there'll be another bar here before a down move. Go to daily. technically belongs there, but and clone. Not the best there. I'll just remove that, I think. What is suggesting right at the end here, at the moment I'm just going to draw it there, I think. Not the best because I don't know where to attach it then. Because if it does go there, it's not the right one. If this does break on the den side, that will be its support, although the target will obviously be below that, and according to the monthly there was a lower target, so it is saying lower prices to come, but I definitely will have some support here, and I would probably wait. There's not that much left in here in this trade to consider anything there, so I'd probably watch and see what happens on this. There's not much more you can add to it. Just have a look, actually, one more thing on it. Might go lower if that breaks through. The weekly, that's obviously part of the weekly. That's that part there. That bit there is that part there. So, and that is on the top. So this logically should go lower. The target's suggesting lower here also. Okay, next, VLA. Monthly. A lot of consolidation. It's pretty good from that perspective. So, well, that's a symmetrical triangle, which is really a reversal to the upside. What do they do? Interestingly, we can do multiple targets, but let's say next target, at least from here. Oops, what have I done? And it already clicked. Get the target again. That's nearly hit that first target, and the second target is really from here. That's its next target up. Let's go to a weekly. And I'll do the same pattern first. In addition, what have we got here? And how many bars do we have here? $11 bars, that's all right. Technically, from here, and that's an aggressive, a conservative target is again from here to the highest body to each breakout, which brings it back to 882, and we set on the monthly around 82, 84 in this area here. So a weekly and monthly confirms. Weekly and monthly confirms. Looking at on the daily, the only thing we have on the daily is that. Yeah, that's the pole and break. That's nearly there to that target already. And that's a descending triangle. And out of that descending triangle gives us to 64 cents. So your daily saying up, your weekly saying up, and your monthly saying up. So all I can say, it's going up, at least potentially. So this is not personal advice. Please remember that. This is just general investment advice as per the disclaimer at the beginning. So if you haven't read that, you must remember that we've talked about it. And it's even when you're logged in on the webinar, you go through the disclaimer. So I hope that's well qualified. Now, I'm going to do the Australian dollar. AUD equals. Oh, geez, isn't it interesting? We'll come to the daily shortly, but let's have a look at the monthly. It really hasn't changed much. We hit the target. It bounced back to its consolidation phase. We can see when it broke the triangle at this point here, we can see it came back and tested that and failed. That was its brick wall, as we said in the last webinar. If it broke through that, then I would be comfortable to the around 82 to 84 cents. Unfortunately, it's pretty much stopped hard pretty much there. What we're looking here is the triangle there, which is resistance. And obviously this down will be resistance also. And if we clone this, it's also inside that channel. Okay, so we extend the lines a little bit, we can see. It's inside that channel. And in addition, what we've got here, why this is a strong consolidation phase, we can see this is the main trend line. Now remember, this is monthly, so it's a pretty solid trend line, okay? So we can see why this is a strong consolidation phase. It really doesn't give us any more than that. We need to go now to a weekly, and hopefully we can get a bit more data. We can see the consolidation phase. We did those targets 82 to 83.5 based on, remember, breaking that resistance point. It stopped pretty much short on that, and that was it. And did unfortunately nothing for us after that. So that's where the resistance was, and it's coming back down to its previous lows, it looks like at the moment, and consolidating. Now what we do have here also, there's its high originally, but we had a higher high, okay? So if now this gets a kick up anywhere around here, we can actually start drawing a trend line underneath it. Obviously it'll be more viewed on the daily than the current weekly. So all we can do is, on this, we had a potential, this point as a brick wall. It went through it to the next resistance point. So this now, its previous resistance is useless. Right? This still is strong support. Strong support there is on the monthly, on the weekly. It's all there. So let's look at the daily now. Again, we're hoping if that was on the monthly that we looked at, if that was the resistance point, and if it broke through there, potentially we had a bullish flag and it would have went higher. Obviously that resistance point had dominated and pretty much broke below, so that means this is no longer a bullish flag. This is that it broke through but stopped at the resistance point. You might as well clean that up now. It's hit where it did, stopped at the resistance, because this target was a little bit, if you remember, we discussed above its resistance point in the last fortnight. This channel that broke through, we can actually get a down target on the downside. So we go to its previous high, to its previous touch, to its break point, and we're pretty much there. Okay, so I would suspect there'll be consolidation phase coming here also. So we can see this is daily. It's been down here for quite a little while, consolidation phase before we take it further. Let's look at a little bit intraday. We'll convert this to an intraday chart also. Let's have a look. Excuse me. Now, let's go to a bit longer time frame. 180. Oops, what did I do there for? Did all data. That'll do. Starting at the top, that was just high. Now we can clone that. As we can see, it really is in a channel, a downtrending channel. If we drop it down to 60 minutes, it really doesn't give us much more than that. This is just a downtrending channel. There really, again, like I said, there's nothing we can do here to down. I mean, here we are, saw a bearish flag, but the truth is, you wouldn't adhere it too much, only because you are in this channel. So that's where it would obviously be the brick wall. So if you were happy to take that, even though your target would have been, I mean, I would have been happy to take it, but I would only trade it to this channel. No matter what we do, 60, 30, or any of those, I'll go a bit longer, maybe 80, 360, about 720. Closer to the daily, I think. We can see if you're trading this, potentially you had there. In fact, you could have cloned it, would be better. And again, even here, so your targets, the last one at least from here. We're even past that point here at the moment. So really it's going down to the channel, and that target obviously from here. Again, confirming the same target. So going back to daily, it really doesn't give us any more than that. We know what we saw in the 60 and 180. It's at the bottom of the channel. It's probably closer to consolidation phase. It's not too far from other levels on it when you compare it to a daily. So if we see a kickback, we can probably start drawing a trend line if it has a kickback up. So again, even on the Aussie dollar, I think we should just wait and see. That's what it comes down to, wait and see. It's indecision. Now, folks, pretty much covered everything. All I can say is, again, as I said, the last fortnight, really this is a consolidation phase part, and I think when we are in something like that, it's best just to really hang around and let it make its decisions, see which way it wants to go, and then just get on the ride. We trade what we see, not what we think. We only get on the ride once we confirm the pattern that it's doing in its direction that it's going. I hope everybody enjoyed tonight's webinar. I'll start the conversion process after it finishes as ASAP, and usually takes overnight for it to go and should be right by the morning. Now sometimes it might go on and cut me in a few hours time if you were lucky, but that's basically it. If you have any stocks or different currencies or different commodities you want us to analyze, just remember, just email us the symbols at webinars@phoenixio.com.au, and we'll be more than happy to do so. I hope everybody enjoyed the webinar, as I said, and I wish everybody a great evening and fantastic trading in the future. Thank you so much and good evening.